Hey, this is LaShonda Henry here, creator of the Unblock Your Blessings 90-Day Challenge, designed to help you build your best business, life, and self. As always, I hope at this point you have communicated me at least 3, 4, 5 times so that we are staying connected and really going through this experience together, not just one-on-one, not just listening to me, but implementing and going to unblockyourblessings.com, commenting, and being a part of the community that I hope that we are building together to unblock our blessings. So as always, I want to share a choice that I believe you've got to make, some chat, some personal stories that really resonate with me and dig a little bit deeper as far as why that choice in particular is significant. And of course, the challenge, the thing that I want you to do to get one step closer to unblocking your blessings. Today, I want you to choose to be different. Being different is hard. Nobody wants to be different. When we're in school, we want to conform so we can fit in. When we're in our office, we want to conform so we don't get fired. We don't rock any waves. But nobody really wants to stand out. When it comes to entrepreneurship, though, you have to. Everybody who is who they want to be and who everybody else wants to be has been eccentric in some way, shape, or form. I think about at one point I was reading this really interesting story about successful people. And it said, you know what's funny? Really, when you look at it, the most successful people in the world, what is it, 10%? Even when you go really successful, hyper successful, what less than 1%? And they're doing it, right? But what's funny is that most people, when they're trying to mirror other people, as far as marketing or starting up or coming up with an idea, they're doing what 99% of the regular people are doing. The people who are not making money, the people who are struggling, the people who have not really come into terms of what it means to unblock their blessings and live their best life. Those people are following the 99%, when really they should focus on being different, looking at not the 1%, but just doing what they need to do to get the job done. I used to feel bad, and I'll tell you why, and we're going to jump into the chat. I used to feel bad when people would name people, whether it be an entrepreneur or a business owner or, a celebrity, and they would say, well, don't you know so-and-so? And I'd be like, God, I really don't know anything about this stuff. I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. I don't even know the top marketers. What's going on? And I would feel bad. Until, of course, me being me, I love to get on information. That's kind of one of my things. I was reading another article that really resonated with me. It said, there are 2 types of people in the world. There are creators and there are consumers. When you're a consumer, you're going to know everything because you're absorbing everything. But when you're a creator, you don't have time to look at who's doing what and what's doing what because you're creating. And I looked at that and I said, that's me. I'm clueless when it comes to what other people are doing, and maybe there's some overlap, but I don't care because I'm an innovator. I'm a creator. I'm the 1%, and I don't need to focus or fixate on what other people are doing because I'm going to do me. I'm going to be different. I've always stuck out, right? And there's this absolutely hilarious post on, I believe it's BuzzFeed.com, that talks about I think it's like 27 things you've experienced as a black kid. And one of them is the infamous, everybody says to you, why do you sound white? And so, of course, Sister Sense community is not just African Americans and Caribbean Americans and Africans. Our community is for women entrepreneurs, so it does expand that. But just speaking again from my personal experiences is how I've worked out Unblock Your Blessings and what that process is like. I say this to say, yes, I've gotten that question, among other questions of, you speak white. Why do you talk white? Do you have a lot of white friends? Which I thought was first very, very, very hilarious because up until, honestly, I want to say mid-high school, college, that was not the case at all. I just talk the way I talk. I'm sorry that offends you. That's just who I am. But I was that little bit chunky, dark-skinned girl who talk quote unquote white or who actually liked, I went through a raver girl period. So if you looked downtown Brooklyn, you would see me in my very big wide legs and my stainless steel silver rings from one arm to the next, and you'd see me in my big old clog bloops or my platforms because that's what I loved. Or you'd watch me because I had instances where I was on the train, or you'd watch me with my headphones blasting in my ears because I was listening to some techno dot 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 whatever. I was that girl. I was completely different. I absolutely stuck out like a sore thumb, but that's just who I wanted to be, and I was comfortable with that. It wasn't until a few years ago that my sister, she said to me, and I was floored the day she did, when she was like, you know what, there are only a few women that I absolutely admire. My mother is one of them, and you, because, growing up in Brooklyn, it didn't matter what anybody said. It didn't matter if they said that you were fat or too dark or whatever those things that they can say just to be really hurtful and harsh. You just did you. I never let those boundaries stop me, because I really believe that in life you have to be different. You have to be you. I think about instances in my life where difference, it didn't really pay to be different, but I couldn't let those things stop me. First time I wanted to get a job, we all kind of have our dream jobs when we're 15, 16. I was like, I want to work at my local mall. I lived in Brooklyn, so that was King's Plaza, and I want to work at the local mall, and it'd be so great if I could work at like Aeropostale, or if I could work at the Gap, because I'm a kid. I want to work at the stores that we want to shop at and be that girl. But I said, you know what, they're not going to hire me. Not of the fairer skin. I'm not tall. I'm not skinny. I don't have the look that they're looking for those shops, and they're not going to hire me. And of course, that's just the way it is, unfortunately, when you live in that kind of an urban environment. Everybody has to look a certain way and make a certain part, fit into a certain part. I think about when I was in high school, even in college, and I said, well, I want to make video games, and I want to do programming, and I want to get that great technology job, or I want to get that great graphics job. But how do I do that? How do I do that when nobody around me is doing that? When you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and your mom or dad is a doctor or a lawyer, your uncle is a physician, you kind of have an in. You've got somebody you can go to when you're frustrated or when you've got questions. But when you want to enter a world that is completely unfamiliar, not only to you, but to your community, how do you do that when you want to be different? So I didn't just stop when, I couldn't get that high school job, or I didn't just stop when I couldn't figure out how was I going to get a tech job when nobody around me is into tech except for me. I kept going. In high school, they had a major for computer science. I jumped on that. When I was in high school, and then I moved in to college, and I continued computer science, and I found out about the Inroads program that helped minority students get into Fortune 500 companies. I jumped on that. I remember my mom got me a word processor because I wanted to learn how to type, and one of my close friends, she knew how to type, and so I was like, I don't have a computer, so I drew the keys, and I kid you not, I was so determined to learn how to type. When I wasn't at her house on her word processor, I drew the keys on a piece of cardboard box and tried to practice on my own at home. It was frustrating, but it's all I can do. And so my mom, she got me a word processor, and then she got me my first computer, which was an IBM. So when I got that in high school, I always said, oh my God, if I got a job, I would absolutely want to work at IBM. When I was in high school and I got into the Inroads program, and there are tons of different companies that are pitching and working and partnering with Inroads that could have come to me. And I kid you not, the company that chose me was IBM. I thought, my God, this is like my blessing, being unblocked. It's kind of like when Oprah talks about, and I don't know if you've ever watched the video that she made on YouTube. It's called Surrender. And she talked about when she read The Color Purple and she fell in love with it, and she actually had to give the book out to anyone she saw. She was like, read this book. And then when she found out they were making a movie, she's like, Harpo is Oprah spelled backwards. This movie is mine. And she had to go through everything that she went through to feel like she was rejected and didn't get it. And at the last minute, she got it. And how Color Purple changed her life. IBM changed my life. But it was something that, it's kind of like, I guess I willed it into being when I got my first computer, but it wasn't something that I knew that was going to happen. But I had to be different. I had to do the thing that didn't necessarily work for the status quo, but worked for me. And of course, even with the internship, and unfortunately, I didn't get a full-time job because the dot-com bubble popped when I got in to the 9-to-5 world. I didn't know, okay, well, the internship didn't work out. Well, how was I going to get back into technology? I didn't know what to do. But I knew I loved kids, and so I started counseling, and I knew I loved computers, so I figured out, well, hey, I'm different. I'm not quite what they look for when, and by the way, when I did go to IBM and I did apply for positions, I was the only, in many cases, the only one of color, and I was the only woman in many cases, or there were like 3 guys and 2 girls, and I was the black girl and the woman, or there was maybe 2 girls and one was Caucasian or Hispanic, and then there was me. I was different. I was in that space, and I still didn't get the position. I had to say, well, now what? I created my own position. I said, screw it. I'm going to create my own position. I'm going to figure out how to turn the WWW world into my wild, wild west, just like they did. It was uncharted territory. These people went, they found dirt, they got land, they made it their own. That's the WWW for me. So I worked at it until a point I got carpal tunnel. I was online so much trying to figure out how to literally carpal tunnel. Like I had to get rolly balls and everything because I would spend at that point I wasn't a mom, so I could do that. If I wasn't working my 9-to-5, I was working 5 to 9, for 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. to figure out how to make money online. And I said, well, you know what? If they're not going to create a position for me, I'm going to create one for myself. I'm going to make sense of doing this thing for myself. I had to be different. And so that's my challenge for you today. I want you to think about something that you're doing and how you can be different. I want to think about your business or your vision for yourself and how you can be different. It's not just about looking and seeing, well, this is what most people are doing, so I'm going to do that. Like I have coaching clients and they'll come on a call and they'll say, okay, well, everybody says to do Aweber, so I'm going to sign up to do Aweber. And why are you not doing Aweber? I'm like, well, I don't need to do what the 99% are doing. I need to do what works for me. I need to be different. So it's not just about jumping on the bandwagon and getting excited because everybody's doing something. They're the 99. You want to be a part of that 1% that's truly blessed, blocked, and living in their purpose abundantly, just flowing over abundantly. I don't know if you watch my YouTube channels, and one of the videos I created long ago was about how good enough is not good enough. And that's something that I had to learn because I tell you all the time that for me, when I started out, one of the things that I really just wanted was normalcy and comfort. I wanted to be in a comfortable apartment, have my hubby and my son, and a decent job to bring in a decent living. I love my comfort food, which is why I'm diabetic. Comfort is like my middle name, right? But I had to realize that in order to be abundantly successful, I couldn't just want to be comfortable. Because then I would complain, right? I would say, well, I'm not making enough money online. I'm not doing, and then I would catch myself and say, well, technically I am making money. If you made $5 today, you made money. Are you making money or are you not making what you want to make? And if you want to make more than that, are you being truthful with yourself? Well, I only need this. This is good enough. I only need a couple hundred or a couple thousand. This is good enough. No, it's not. Good enough is not good enough if you want to be abundantly successful. I had to break myself out of that. I had to go through all the pricing phobias to realize that just a couple hundred or a couple thousand weren't going to cut it. Now, mind you, that's a process that takes a couple of months or even a couple of years, depending on your mindset. So I don't rush anybody. That's your journey, and this was mine. It took me quite a while to go through that process. But the idea here is knowing that good enough is not good enough. And in order for you to get out of your comfort zone, you got to be different. You got to be you. You got to do you. And again, acknowledge the mindset, acknowledge the experience, acknowledge those things right now. That's the challenge for right now. Acknowledge those things that are either causing you to conform, want to do what everybody else is doing, or, want to try and mirror it as best you can like everybody else, because being like everybody else is not going to get you on the cover of ... It's not going to get you sitting down with ... It's not going to have you create the best business life and self for yourself, because those people who are most eccentric and different are the ones that are most successful. So I want you to think about that for today as your challenge. Write it down, take it to heart, and we will talk more on the next Unblock Your Blessings. Take care.